online content manager for Worldwide Business Research, and I'm here at the Field Service 2012 conference in Las Vegas, and I'm here with Mark Brienzi. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Mark, your title has changed recently, so say it again for us.
I'm the Global Director of Service Business Operations.
At Kodak.
Yes, at Kodak.
Okay, great. So Mark just gave the closing presentation of the day. In fact, I'm holding him up from some cocktails, so I won't keep us too long, but just wanted to ask a few quick questions to sum up some of the points that you touched on, which I thought were very important. You talked about technology first, which is something that you mentioned has to come from leadership. Every component of technology has to come from leadership, you mentioned. What does that mean? Why?
Well, when we start looking at technology, it really does push us out of our comfort zone. And when that happens, you have got to have leaders who can help people move from stability and comfort into an area that they're a little less comfortable. And by doing that, those leaders can help those folks get more aggressive towards making the change.
Can you talk a little bit about the service operations at Kodak? A lot of people probably know Kodak for the consumer-facing products, so just explain to us a little bit what the service operations looks like at Kodak.
Well, we've got over 3,300 service professionals globally, and we range in variety of industry segments, our document management solutions, our printing solutions, and our retail solutions. And we have been growing globally in our multi-vendor service area. And with the 3,300 plus professionals worldwide, we're able to leverage our expertise that we've had for years in field service.
Now, going back to the technology piece, we were talking. You were talking in your presentation about certain things that technology can offer and things that it can't. What are sort of the benefits and then the downfalls of new, rapidly changing technology in terms of field service operations?
Well, there's a couple that come to mind that we've heard a lot about today, and one is remote monitoring and remote services, and the other is predictive failure analysis. When those new technologies come to the forefront, what you have is a better way to diagnose failure in equipment. And when that happens, you want to be able to have service parts available to support that. And in the yesterday's world, you had a lot of parts in the trunks because you didn't know what was going to fail. Well, tomorrow, the technology is taking us well beyond into predicting failure and doing remote support. And therefore, you don't need as many parts because you can move those parts where you need them based on that future technology.
Now, towards the end of the presentation, you had a slide where you talked about parts inventory in the trunks, and you were talking about parts that are less than $50. There was a whole bunch of numbers and stats in there. Can you talk about what the main point of that slide was? Because I think you hit on it, and I wanted you to reiterate it here.
Well, I think, again, once we started evaluating field trunk inventory and we moved expensive parts out, we started peeling back the onion even further. And when we've done the analysis, it has proven that in our business, there's a very finite group of parts that make up the majority of what our field techs use. And that, in this case, represents about 70% of everything they use is under a certain dollar value, but it only represents 13% of the total inventory. So if you really start to think about that a little bit, it puts you in a position to say there's an opportunity here. And I think where most companies need to do is continuously come back at these opportunities and not necessarily forget about the fact that, well, the parts made it to the trunk and therefore we're in good shape.
Now, a big part of all of this is change management, getting people to do something differently, something that maybe they've done the same way for a very long time. How do you implement change management, especially when you're talking about a global scale, like a company that deals all over the world? How do you implement change management? Where do you begin, and what are sort of the biggest challenges with change management?
Well, some of the biggest challenges certainly would be getting folks who are very comfortable with doing the same thing every day out of their comfort zone, and by doing that, you're providing them with the appropriate metrics to allow them to realize that where they're heading makes sense, and also to be able to provide them support if things don't always go as planned. And one of the things about change management, it's always easy to step back and say, see, I knew it wouldn't work. And one of the things that you want to be able to do is when you get that input is to work with the folks to make it work, provide that solution, and maybe change your philosophy a little bit as to where you're heading with this change, and maybe make it a little more adaptable towards the field engineer, because in theory, things look different than in practice.
And you gave a few successes. Can you tell us, highlight some of the successes you had in really kind of getting people out of their comfort zone?
Well, I think one of the successes has been when you engage folks who you will need to make the transition, you have to engage them in the process. And if you engage folks in the process, they feel there's an element of ownership that they have. And then once you have that in place, and you could take some wins, some testimonials, and share those with the broader base group, you not only have buy-in from that group, but now you're sharing some successes, and in some cases you may want to share some failures and what you did to fix that.
Okay, great. And just one more question, sort of on a macro level. Would you say that Kodak, I'm just curious to know, and I'm sure viewers are curious to know, is the expansion at Kodak happening on sort of this level in the field service? Like, I'm curious to know where you guys are headed in the future as a company.
Well, that's a great question, and I had mentioned earlier in my presentation that actually is a very exciting time for Kodak, because in our business, and the B2B business sector, services is absolutely growing at Kodak, and we represent a good portion of the profitability of Kodak. So it is now at this time where we can take our services organization and actually go even further, because now we're bringing folks in to analyze the parts of the business that says service really is a value add to the company and to our customers.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for the presentation and for being here with me right now, and I'll let you get going. I know we're all eager to have a little fun at the end of the long conference day.